Hello, I hope you do find my videos on life in UK test useful. I have given a link to my YouTube channel, which is Preparation for FRCH Urology Exam Life in the UK test. The link is given in this, and I will be adding more videos on life in the UK test, and they are absolutely free. So please do take the time out to subscribe to my channel. This chapter, I will be talking about chapter 3, which is on a long and illustrious history, and we will concentrate on the Tudors and the Stuarts in this video. And I will go through the knowledge first, and then we'll tell you the different MCQs which have come up in the previous exams or the recent exams. And remember that this chapter 3, which has 6 parts to it: Early Britain, Middle Ages, Tudors and Stuarts, Global Power, 20th Century, and Britain since 1945. There are a total of 7 questions which will come up in your exam in this. So the previous audio was based on the Middle Ages, and we had left at the point when the War of Roses, in the War of Roses, Henry Tudor, who was the leader of the House of Lancaster, he finally became the leader and he became the first king of the House of Tudor. So now we are talking about the Tudors and Stuarts in this subtopic of this chapter, and we will talk about the religious conflict which goes on in his times. So the first part would be based on King Henry VII. So Henry Tudor, who was the leader of the House of Lancaster, he became the first king of the House of Tudor, and he became known as the King Henry VII after he won the War of Roses. So the questions asked are: who was Henry VII? He was the leader of the House of Lancaster. Another question asked is: in the 15th century, Henry Tudor, the leader of the House of Lancaster, became King Henry VII. True or false? It is true. The second point is: King Henry VII reduced the power of nobles and strengthened the central administration, as he wanted to make sure that England remained peaceful. So on his death, his son, King Henry VIII, continued his policy of centralizing the power. The questions asked are: what action did King Henry VII take after winning the War of Roses? The answer is: he reduced the power of the nobles. So after King Henry VII died, his son King Henry VIII became the king, and he is known for breaking away from the Church of Rome and for marrying 6 times. The second point is the names of six wives of King Henry VIII. The questions asked are how many wives King Henry VIII have? He had six wives. So the first is Catherine of Aragon. She was the first wife of King Henry VIII. She was a Spanish princess and she had one daughter, Mary. When she was too old to give King Henry VIII another child, he decided to divorce her, hoping another wife would give him a son who would be heir to throne. So the questions asked are, why did Henry VIII decide to divorce Catherine of Aragon? The answer is, she was too old to give him another child. Another question asked is, who was the first wife of Henry VIII? The answer is Catherine of Aragon. Another point is on the second wife of King Henry VIII is Anne Boleyn. She was English and she had one daughter, Elizabeth. Anne Boleyn was unpopular as she was accused of taking lovers, and for this she was executed at the Tower of London. The question asked is, where was Anne Boleyn, wife of King Henry VIII, executed? So she was executed at the Tower of London. The third wife of King Henry VIII was Jane Seymour, and the King Henry VIII married her after Anne's execution. She gave King Henry VIII his son, Edward, and she died soon after the birth of the son. The question asked is, which wife gave King Henry VIII the son? So that is Jane Seymour. The fourth wife is Anne of Cleves. She was a German princess and she was married for political reasons, but King Henry VIII divorced her soon after. The fifth wife was Catherine Howard, who was a cousin of Anne Boleyn, and she was also accused of taking lovers and executed. And the sixth wife was Catherine Parr, who was a widow and who married Henry later in life. The third point is King Henry VIII needed the approval of the Pope so as to divorce Catherine of Aragon, his first wife. When the Pope refused, King Henry VIII established a new church, the Church of England, and he himself, the king, became the head of the church. And the king, not the Pope, would have the power to appoint the bishops and order how people would worship. The question asked is, why did King Henry VIII establish the Church of England? Answer is, because the Pope didn't let him divorce his first wife. Another question is, who is the head of the Church of England? Answer is monarch, the king. Another question is, who established the Church of England? The answer is King Henry VIII. Question, king is the head of the state in UK, true or false? That is true. Who established the Church of England? King Henry VIII. In new Church of England created by Henry VIII, who had the power to appoint bishops and order how people would worship? The answer is king. At the same time, Reformation started across Europe. This was a movement against the authority of the Pope and ideas and practices of Roman Catholic Church. Protestants formed their own churches and believed that a person's own relationship with God was more important than submitting to the authority of the church. The Protestant ideas gained strength in England, Wales, Scotland during the 16th century. Questions asked are, which movement challenged the authority of the Pope? Answer is Reformation. Question, what is the name of the movement against the ideas of the Catholic Church and the authority of the Pope during the reign of Henry VIII? The answer is Reformation. Now the next point is Ireland was mainly Catholic. Attempts by the English to impose Protestantism led to rebellion. King Henry VII and VIII extended English control outside Pale, and King Henry VIII declared himself the King of Ireland. English laws were introduced and the local leaders were expected to follow the instructions of Lord Lieutenants in Dublin. The question asked is, when Henry VIII took the title of King of Ireland, English laws were introduced and everyone except for local leaders were expected to follow the instructions of Lord Lieutenant in Dublin? The answer is false. This was a true and false question. The sixth point is, during the reign of King Henry VIII, Wales became formally united with England by the Act for Government of Wales. The question asked is, who was reigning in England when Wales became formally united with England by the Act of Government for Wales? The answer is King Henry VIII. Now, after the death of King Henry VIII, his son um, Edward VI took over the throne, and King Edward VI was the son of King Henry VIII and Jane Seymour. He took to throne after the death of King Henry VIII. The question asked is, who took English throne after the death of King Henry VIII? The answer is King Edward VI. Now, King Edward VI was a Protestant and he wrote a book of common prayers which was to be used in the Church of England. The question asked is, who wrote the Book of Common Prayers? Answer is King Edward VI. He died at the age of 15 years after reigning for 6 years. The question asked is, how old was Edward VI when he died? The answer is 15 years. When King Edward VI died, his half sister, Queen Mary, became the Queen. Now, she was the daughter of King Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. Queen Mary was mainly Catholic and she persecuted Protestants, therefore, she was also called Bloody Mary. The question asked is, why was Queen Mary also called Bloody Mary? The answer is because she was herself a devout Catholic and she persecuted Protestants. So, after the death of Queen Mary, her half sister Elizabeth I became the Queen of England. She was the daughter of King Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. The question asked is, who was the father of Queen Elizabeth I? Answer is King Henry VIII. Question: Elizabeth I was the younger daughter of which king? The answer is Henry VIII. Question asked is: Who was the mother of Elizabeth I? Answer is Anne Boleyn. The second point is Queen Elizabeth I was a Protestant and she re-established the Church of England as official Church of England. She was successful in finding a balance between views of the Catholics and the Protestants, and she was also skilled at managing the Parliament. The question asked is: Elizabeth I was a Protestant and succeeded in finding a balance between views of Catholics and Protestants. True or false? It is true. The question is: What religion did Elizabeth I follow? The answer is Protestant. She was a Protestant. Question asked is: Queen Elizabeth was a Catholic. True or false? The answer is false. Third point is: in 1560, Reformation in Scotland started. The Protestant Scottish Parliament abolished the authority of the Pope in Scotland, and Roman Catholic religious services were banned or they became illegal. The Protestant Church of Scotland was established with elected leadership, but it was not a state church, unlike in England. It was a Presbyterian church. The question asked is: What sort of church is the Church of Scotland? The answer is Presbyterian. The question is: What kind of church did Scotland establish in 1560? The answer is Protestant church. The next point is: the Queen of Scotland, Mary Stuart, who is also called as the Mary, Queen of Scots, was a Catholic. She was 1 week old when her father died and she became the Queen of Scotland. She spent most of her childhood in France. When she came back to Scotland, her husband was murdered and Mary was suspected. Therefore, she fled to England and gave her throne to her son James VI of Scotland. She was Elizabeth I's cousin and hoped that Elizabeth I would help her. In contrast, Elizabeth suspected Mary of wanting to take over the English throne and kept her prisoner for 20 years. Eventually, Mary was executed and was accused of plotting against Elizabeth I. Question asked is: Mary Stuart, Mary the Queen of Scots, was a Catholic. True or false? It is true. Why did Queen Elizabeth I keep her cousin Mary prisoner for 20 years? The answer is she suspected that Mary wanted to take over her throne. Question: What happened to Mary, Queen of Scots, after she spent 20 years in prison? The answer is she was executed. Question is: Where did Mary, Queen of Scots, spend most of her childhood? Answer is France. The next point is: the Elizabethan period was a time of patriotism or a feeling of pride of being English. English explorers, they sought new trade routes and they tried to expand the British trade in Spanish colonies in America. This period is also remembered for the richness of poems and plays of William Shakespeare. In 1564, William Shakespeare was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, England. He is famous for his plays and poems. Most famous plays which are still quoted include Macbeth, Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, Midsummer's Night Dream. Lines from his plays and poems include To Be or Not to Be, this is from Hamlet, A Rose by Any Other Name, this is from Romeo and Juliet, and All the World's a Stage, this is from As You Like It. The questions asked are: which of the following plays have been written by William Shakespeare? A number of options would be given, and the choice is Midsummer's Night Dream. Question is: which of the following plays is written by William Shakespeare? Again, a number of choices are given, and the answer would be Macbeth. Question is: where was William Shakespeare born? Answer is Stratford-upon-Avon. Question: who was born in Stratford-upon-Avon? The answer is William Shakespeare. Question: the line All the World's a Stage belongs to which famous play or poem written by William Shakespeare? The answer is As You Like It. Question: the line A Rose by Any Other Name belongs to which plays or poems written by William Shakespeare? Answer is Romeo and Juliet. Question: the line To Be or Not to Be belongs to which of the following plays written by William Shakespeare? The answer is Hamlet. Which of the following lines from his plays are still quoted? All the World's a Stage. The number of options would be given, and the answer in this was all the world's stage. Question: Elizabethan period is known for richness of poetry and drama, especially the poems and dramas of which playwright? The answer is William Shakespeare. Question: Elizabethan period in England was a time of growing patriotism, a feeling of pride in being English. English explorers found new trade routes and tried to expand the British trade into Spanish colonies in America. Is this true or false? This is true. The sixth point is she was Elizabeth I was most popular queen in English history because in 1588 the English defeated Spanish Armada, which was a large fleet of ships sent by the Spain to conquer England and to restore Catholicism. Question asked is when did English defeat Spanish Armada? In 1588. Question: where did Spanish Armada come from? It came from Spain. Question: during the reign of Elizabeth I, large fleet of ships was sent to conquer England and to restore Catholicism. Which country? The answer is true. This is true or false? The answer is true. Question: which country sent a fleet of ships to England in 1588? The answer is Spain. Question: who did English defeat in 1588? The answer is Spanish Armada. Question: what was Spanish Armada? The answer is a large fleet of ships. Another point: Sir Francis Drake, who was the founder of England's naval tradition and was also one of the commanders in the defeat of Spanish Armada, his ship Golden Hind was the first to sail all around the world, also known as circumnavigate around the world. The eighth point is during the reign of Elizabeth I, English settlers first began to colonize the eastern coast of America. The question asked is who was reigning in England when English settlers first began to colonize eastern coast of America? The answer is Elizabeth I. The question asked is when did the English settlers first begin to colonize eastern coast of America? The answer is Elizabeth I. Question: during time of Elizabeth I, English settlers began to colonize eastern coast of America. True or false? The answer is true. In 1603, Elizabeth I died, and because she never got married, she had no children. Her cousin, King James VI of Scotland, became the King James I of England, Wales, and Ireland, and Scotland remained a separate country. Question asked is James I was king of which country before he became king of England? The answer is Scotland. The second point is King James wrote a new translation of Bible into English which is called King James Version or Authorized Version. The question asked is version of the Bible created by King James I is known as Authorized Version. The third point is during the reign of Elizabeth I and King James I, Ireland was a Catholic country and rebelled against the Protestant government in England. English government encouraged Scottish and English Protestants to settle in Ulster, which is in northern province of Ireland, taking over the land from Catholic landowners. These settlements were known as plantations. Question asked is the settlements of Scottish and English Protestants in Ulster who took over the land from Catholic landowners during the reign of Elizabeth I and James I it is known as plantations. King James I and his son King Charles I were less skilled politically. Both believed in the divine right of kings, meaning that the king was directly appointed by God to rule. They felt that the king should be able to act without having to take approval from the parliament. Question asked is, Charles I believed in the divine rights of kings, so he tried? The answer is to rule without the parliament. Question asked is, which two kings believed in the divine rights of kings? The answer is James I and Charles I. Question asked is, what is the meaning of divine rights of kings? The answer is the idea that the king was directly appointed by God to rule. The next point is King Charles I was able to rule without the parliament for 11 years. In 1660, he recalled the parliament to raise money because of the trouble in Scotland. The third point is King Charles I introduced a revised prayer book so as to have more ceremonies during the worship in Church of England. He tried to impose this book on the Presbyterian Church in Scotland, which led to unrest, and Scottish army was formed. For this, he needed his army and hence called the Parliament to ask for funds. Most in the Parliament were Puritans, who were a group of Protestants who advocated strict and simple religious doctrine and worship. They did not agree with the king and they refused. The question asked is, what was the religion of Puritans? The answer is, they were Protestants. Question is, Charles I wanted worship in the Church of England to include more ceremonies and introduced a revised prayer book. True or false? The answer is true. Question is, who were Puritans? They are a group of Protestants who advocated strict and simple religious doctrine and worship. The next point is the King Charles I entered the House of Commons to arrest 5 Parliament leaders, but they were not there as they had been warned earlier. He is the first and the last monarch to enter the House of Commons. The next point is in 1642, a civil war started between the king and the parliament. England was split into two groups. The group who supported the kings were Cavaliers, and those who supported the parliament were called the Roundheads. The question asked is, who supported King Charles I during civil war? The answer is Cavaliers. Question is, what name was given to the supporters of the king during civil war of 1642? Again, the answer is Cavaliers. Question is, who supported Parliament during Civil War of 1642? The answer is Roundheads. Question is, who fought in the English Civil War of 1642? The answer is Cavaliers and the Roundheads. Question, when did the English Civil War start? The answer is 1642. Question, England was split into two groups during English Civil War of 1642, which were known as, the answer is Cavaliers and the Roundheads. So these are the different sort of formats. They ask the same question in different ways. I've just given you examples here so that you can become confident. The next point is in 1646, King Charles I army was defeated at the Battle of Marston Moor and Naseby, which were the Civil War battles. King Charles I was taken prisoner and in 1649 he was executed. He was the only monarch to be executed. At this time, England declared itself republic called the Commonwealth and did not have any monarch. The question asked is, which king was executed in 1649? The answer is King Charles I. Question is, which two are Civil War battles? The answer is Battle of Marston Moor and Battle of Naseby. Question is, what happened to Charles I after he was put in prison? The answer is he was executed. Question asked is, when was England ruled by a republic and not a monarch? The answer is when Charles I was executed. So, after the execution of Charles I, England was now under army control, and one general, Oliver Cromwell, was sent to Ireland to control the rebellion. Scots were against the execution of King Charles I and declared King Charles I's son, Charles II, as the King of Scotland. King Charles II led Scottish army into England, but Oliver Cromwell defeated King Charles II's army in the Battle of Dunbar and Worcester. Charles II escaped from Worcester, hiding in an oak tree, and then fled to Europe. The questions asked are: which king was defeated by Oliver Cromwell in civil war and hid in an oak tree before escaping to Europe? The answer is King Charles II. Question is: how did Charles II escape to Europe after his defeat in civil war? The answer is by hiding in an oak tree. The question is: who led a Scottish army against Oliver Cromwell just after England declared itself republic? The answer is Charles II. Question is: after Oliver Cromwell defeated Scottish army at Battle of Dunbar and Worcester, Charles II escaped from Worcester hiding in an oak tree? The answer is true or false? The answer is true. The next point is: Oliver Cromwell was given the title of Lord Protector because of his victory over King Charles II and his successful Ireland campaign. He ruled until his death in 1658. Question asked is: who was given the title Lord Protector? The answer is Oliver Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell's son, Richard, then became the Lord Protector, but he was unable to control the army or the government. England was now a republic for 11 years, but there was no clear leader or the system of government. The question asked is: who was the leader of English Republic? The answer is Oliver Cromwell. So England was a republic for 11 years, but there was no clear leader or system of government. So in May of 1660, Parliament invited Charles II to come back from exile in Netherlands, and he was then crowned King Charles II. This is referred to as Restoration. Church of England became established official Church of England. Question asked is: who came from Netherlands to become British monarch? The answer is Charles II. Next, in 1665, during the reign of King Charles II, there was a major outbreak of plague in London. The question is: during King Charles II's reign, when did the plague occur? So it occurred in 1665. Now remember, this plague is different from the Black Death, which happened during the Middle Ages. The next question is: in 1666, there was a great fire in London. St. Paul's Cathedral was destroyed. It was later rebuilt by Sir Christopher Wren. The question asked is: during the reign of Charles II, parts of London were destroyed. What was the cause of this destruction? The answer is fire. Question is: which famous architect rebuilt St. Paul's Cathedral after it was destroyed by the Great Fire in 1666? The answer is Sir Christopher Wren. Samuel Pepys wrote about these events in his diary. In 1679, Habeas Corpus Act became law. It is a legislation and is Latin for "you must present the person in court." No one could be held prisoner unlawfully, and every person has the right to court hearing. The question asked is: why was Habeas Corpus Act an important legislation? The answer is that because it guaranteed no one could be held prisoner unlawfully. Question: what did Habeas Corpus Act introduce? The answer is every person has a right to court hearing. Question is: when did Habeas Corpus Act become law? The answer is in 1679. Next point, during the King Charles II reign, Royal Society was formed to promote natural knowledge. This is the oldest serving scientific society in the world, and its early members include Sir Edmund Halley, who predicted the return of Halley Comet, and Sir Isaac Newton, who was born in Lincolnshire, east of England. Isaac Newton became interested in science while he was studying at Cambridge University and wrote mathematical principles of natural philosophy, which showed gravity applied to the whole universe. He also discovered that white light is made of colors of rainbow. Question asked is, what was Isaac Newton known for? The answer is discovery of gravity. Question, what did Isaac Newton discover? The answer is gravity. Question, where was Isaac Newton from? The answer is Lincolnshire. Question, which British scientist showed that gravity applied to the whole universe? The answer is Isaac Newton. In 1685, King Charles II died and his brother James became the king, James II of England. He was a Roman Catholic and allowed Roman Catholics in the army as officers, which the Parliament had forbidden. King James II's eldest daughter Mary was married to her cousin William of Orange, who was a Protestant ruler of Netherlands. In 1688, Protestants in England asked William Orange, the ruler of Netherlands, to invade England and proclaim himself the king. When William came to England, there was no resistance. James too fled to France, and William took over the throne. This event was later called the Glorious Revolution because there was no fighting in England. Question asked is, William of Orange was asked by the Protestants to invade England and proclaim himself king. When he reached England, there was no resistance and he took over the throne. This was later known as, the answer is, Glorious Revolution. Question is, who was invited to invade and rule England in 1688? Answer is William of Orange. Question, when did William of Orange invade England to proclaim himself king? Answer is 1688. In 1689, Bill of Rights confirmed the rights of the Parliament and limits the king's power. Question asked is, Bill of Rights confirmed the right to vote for all men and women, true or false? The answer is false. Question, what did Bill of Rights confirm in 1689? The answer is rights of Parliament and limits of king's power. James too wanted his throne back and invaded Ireland with the help of French army. William defeated James II at the Battle of Boyne in Ireland in July 1690. Now, this day is still remembered in Ireland as a public and is a public holiday. James fled back to France. The question asked is, who was defeated at the Battle of Boyne? The answer is James too. Question, when is the Battle of Boyne celebrated in Northern Ireland? The answer is July. Question, Battle of Boyne in July is a public holiday in Northern Ireland? The answer is true. True or false? The answer is true. Now, there was support in Scotland for James. Armed rebellion in support of James was defeated at Callicranky. All the Scottish clans were asked to accept William as king by taking an oath. MacDonalds of Glencoe, they were late in taking oath and were killed. Question asked is, which Scottish clan was killed for not taking oath? The answer is MacDonalds of Glencoe. I hope you enjoyed and found it pretty easy. I will be posting more pretty soon. Please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Good luck.